Yo, what's going on, man? Today is October the 9th, 2024, and this is the latest edition of the ChrisBeCappinn Show. We are jumping into two teams in the NBA yet again as we get through the NBA previews. So hit the like button for me as you join. Let's jump into it, man. Straight to work we go. We got the Milwaukee Bucks and the Minnesota Timberwolves on deck for today. Just a quick reminder, if you guys are new to the channel, I think this is year number 3 that I've done NBA team previews all over on YouTube, some on Twitter as well. And this is the calendar for the month. Of course, as I mentioned in the last video, I'm a day behind. It's not Tuesday, so this video should have came out yesterday. But Milwaukee and Minnesota, what we're going to get into today. And then up next, we got the Brooklyn Nets, my Los Angeles Lakers. Before we get into the Knicks and the Clippers, as we round out the last full week of NBA team previews, we'll finish up on Tuesday, as you guys can see through the calendar. So let's jump right into it, man. Like I said, 2 teams. Let's get into them. First one up we got is the Milwaukee Bucks, Eastern Conference team. The Milwaukee Bucks are going to be interesting this year, in my opinion. This is a team that I kind of feel like is, a little slept on. And it's partially due for the reason they finished their last 2 seasons, if we're being quite frank about it. 2 years ago, we remember this team losing in the first round to the Jimmy Butler-led Miami Heat, and they beat the Bucks, pretty handily in that series without, when Giannis wasn't available. What happens last year? No Giannis again, so he changed it up. Drew Holiday was a part of the team that got beat by Miami 2 years ago. Last year, they trade Drew Holiday to Boston. Worked out to be a blessing in disguise for him. They bring over Damian Lillard, and they lose again. This time at the hands of the Indiana Pacers. Common theme here, though. No Giannis Antetokounmpo. So 49-33 last season straight up. 34-47-1 against the number, which means that, this was a team that wasn't clicking on cylinders like we thought that they would be. This was all during the regular season. They end up going 2-4 in the playoffs, straight up 3-3 against the number before losing to the Indiana Pacers like we talked about. Giannis sustained that calf injury after they had fired Adrian Griffin and brought in Doc Glenn Rivers to be the coach of the team. This was a team that was cap restricted, of course, because Chris Middleton, Damian Lillard, and Giannis, just have humongous contracts. So, not a lot that they could really do in the free agent market. You can see the additions and subtractions on the left-hand side. Taurean Prince comes over from the Lakers. Sounds like what I'm reading, he's going to get a lot of minutes with this team, potentially even start at the 4 so they can play small and put Giannis at the 5. We'll see how that goes, but I think that is something that, they'll probably experiment with Doc and his coaching staff. Gary Trent Jr., I feel like is, a little bit of an upgrade, especially when you lose Malik Beasley. DeLon Wright also comes over as well. They lose Malik Beasley. As I just mentioned, Patrick Beverley is now playing in Israel, I think. And Tata Washington Jr. is also now gone, and he didn't play an integral role last year, even with Damian Lillard having some nagging injuries throughout certain stints. So strength of schedule, you can see 6th most easiest schedule in the league. That should help them a lot. The 11th in rest, 11 games with the rest advantage, 13, which is the most without it. And they do have a league high 16 back-to-backs as well. Something that we know we have to monitor with Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton, that's in the past, it feels like the last couple of years he just can't get right. Chris Middleton actually had surgery on both of his ankles and is slowly eyeing to be worked back in the rotation. That kind of gives me the thought process that this team is going to get off to a slow start. I feel like Chris Middleton is never really, 100% at the beginning of this season, and could be another setback for him. They're trying to, according to reports, that came out yesterday, it sounds like he could potentially play 2 games towards the end of the preseason, but not even that is guaranteed. And when you don't get those reps with your team, especially when you got a new coach trying to implement a new offense, that could be problematic, especially in the long haul. So not expecting a lot for, an aging Chris Middleton either. But just overall in general, man, I think it's important to also mention Damian Lillard. He admitted he wasn't himself last season. He shot just 35.5%, a little less than 35.5% from the 3-point line. And on a career, he shoots over 37%, going into last season. This is a team that's, in my opinion, starting to get a little old, even outside of Chris Middleton. You got an aging Brook Lopez. Bobby Portis is getting up there. Damian Lillard's not necessarily a spring chicken anymore. And, sure, all these guys are vets, but it don't feel like any of them really in their prime anymore outside of Giannis, who also can't stay healthy. Not sure how much these league minimum guys will actually help them with some of the real competition. It's at the top of the Eastern Conference. And at the same time, in the same token of breath, if you shift that to the opposite angle and you look at it, with the glass half full versus half empty, this is a team that, in my opinion, is probably starting to feel a lot of that disrespect. Maybe it's, a little bit too loud right now. It's being talked about in their locker room. I actually saw a couple things that had this team finishing 7th in the Eastern Conference, because we got some ascending teams in the East. You think about a young Orlando team. Cleveland Cavaliers are supposed to be better if they can stay healthy. Of course, the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks, the Philadelphia 76ers. The Indiana Pacers. This is a lot of good teams in the Eastern Conference. It's going to be interesting to see, now that the Bucks don't have those high expectations, how well they can play. On the right-hand side, you guys can see the odds. For them to win the championship, 16-1. They are favorites still to win the Central Division at -120 over on ESPN Bet is the best number you could get. You see a regular season win total of about 50.5, which I think is, you know what? Don't quote me on that. I can't remember how many teams are supposed to win 51 games or more based on what our odds are at the start of the season. So, yeah, not really being picked, to come out and represent the Eastern Conference at all. And like I said, 16-1 is probably the longest odds to win the championship that they've had in quite some time. So my thoughts on the Bucks is that, I think I'm more so with the market than with the team. We'll see how the additions go for them this year. I love Gary Trent Jr. I think he, provides another shooter. You still got Bobby Portis coming off the bench. But this team does feel a little old, man. It does feel a little old, and they may break it up if things don't work after this season. We'll see how it goes. But as I mentioned, not a lot of room on this salary cap to make a bunch of moves to add around, 3 supposedly cornerstone pieces, with Chris Middleton being that third one. So we'll see. Enough time talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's move over to the Western Conference runner-up last year, which was the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves team was good, man. They finished the season 56-26 in the regular season straight up. They were 40-41-1 against the number in the regular season. Ended up going to the playoffs and pulling off 9 wins as well. They were 9-7 straight up and against the number in the playoffs. Swept the Phoenix Suns last year. Also, went on to beat the Denver Nuggets as well before losing to Luka, Kyrie, and the Dallas Mavericks. So what do? They go out. They, make the big move of bringing Julius Randle over and getting rid of Karl Anthony Towns. Dante DiVincenzo also comes over. PJ Dozier comes over. He was on, I think he was a part of the Dallas Mavericks. I'm sorry, the Denver Nuggets last year. And then Joe Ingles, old slow Joe, comes over from the Orlando Magic. They lose Kyle Anderson. He's in the Bay Area playing with the Warriors. Jordan McLaughlin is now gone. Monte Morris, who wasn't really a part of it, didn't play too much. That swap of Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle is an intriguing one, which I'll talk about I'll talk about a little bit more in a few seconds. Strength of schedule, you guys can see it. 14th most easiest, or you can say 16th most difficult, kind of middle of the pack. 7 games with the rest advantage and 9 games without it this season. This was a team that, outside of those additions that you guys see, they did draft Rob Dillingham with the 8th overall pick. He's, of course, learning behind a great predecessor in Mike Conley Jr. Terrence Shannon's supposed to be someone that's, going to help this team out as well. I really like the addition of Rob, though. I think Rob is going to get busy with this team. He plays really good defense, so he's going to fit right in and really start to get after it, at practice. Chris Finch, I think, is a very solid coach. A lot of respect for him and the work that he's done. Going back to, just real quick reflecting on what the team did last season, I kind of went over it a little bit, but, you had Anthony Edwards that emerged as pretty much all world. Like, this dude took his game to the absolute next level. Rudy Gobert ends up winning Defensive Player of the Year again. Reed wins Sixth Man of the Year again. And Jaden McDaniels also was recognized as one of the better on-ball defenders, even though he's been there for a couple years. That's for the people that's really been paying attention. This is a team that I think, I kind of feel like the addition of Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo makes them even more of a solid defensive team. Don't get it twisted. Karl-Anthony Towns could play defense, specifically in the playoffs. He, really started to lock up on the defensive end. I'm just not sure this offense is going to be as fluent. If you're asking me who's the better offensive player between Karl-Anthony Towns and Julius Randle, I'm going to tell you Karl-Anthony Towns every single day. So I think, adding Julius Randle probably stagnates the offense just a tad bit. But, you still got Naz Reid coming off the bench, Sixth Man of the Year. And one of the big reasons why they moved Karl-Anthony Towns is because they had a guy like Naz Reid to back, to get that $200 and I think it was $30 million off the books over the next 4 years. And you just gave Naz Reid a contract extension. Of course, Anthony Edwards got, the absolute bag. And you just kind of needed to move away from, having so much talent in one player. So, the experiment with Rudy Gobert has actually worked so far. It'll be interesting to see if that continues. Julius Randle will have to get acclimated to the system coming off the injury last year, coming over from the Knicks. Dante DiVincenzo is going to fit right in. He's a 3-and-D guy that is absolutely can fill it up. He's already, I think it was his first game, playing, and it already hit like three of his three straight threes at the beginning of the season, of 4-4, something like that. So I'm not expecting this team to take a step back at all. I think if anything, they were allowing their defense. Anthony Edwards has already come out and said that he wants to win MVP, so he'll be good for that. And you can see the odds over on the right-hand side as well. Championship 12-1 to win that Northwest division. That is going to be stacked. I don't think that this team is necessarily going to win the division. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder will, but you can get plus 250 over on Caesars for the Timberwolves to win this division. And they do have a regular season win total of 52.5, which is, like I said, a tad bit fewer. I think OKC wins 60 games this year. I'm not sure if this Minnesota should win 52 games, but his win total is a little bit lower, which means that the books expect them to come back down to earth just a tad bit. Remember, I said they won 56 games last year. The books actually opened this up 3.5 games lower than what that total was last year. So those are my thoughts. I think both of these teams, are absolute playoff teams. Both of these teams can win 50+ games. Injuries in the Western Conference will be key, of course. Especially to such a crowded top of the Eastern Conference as well. That those top 4 seeds are going to be really, really tough, and probably all separated by 3-4 games at the most, honestly, which is what we've seen recently. So no play for me quite yet. We'll continue to let the preseason ride out. We share some future bets on the few future bets I made, probably 5 or less on some of these teams after we've covered all of them. So we'll do just that. Resources, I like to make sure I share these. You guys can jump over to OddsJam and check them out and everything that they have to offer. If you do so, check out the referral code that's in the description of the video to get 20% off your first month. Same thing for Moneyballer, handicapping MLB playoffs, NBA, WNBA championship, you name it, right? All of those different things. Moneyballer makes it a lot easier to handicap some of those sports. All of those sports, honestly. So check those out. And that'll be it for this one, man. I appreciate everybody for coming through, liking the video, sharing the video, all of those good things. If you want access to my bets, and I do make them, listen to that. The link to that is in the description of the video, as it always is. Catch you guys next time for my Los Angeles Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets. Come on.